We're having Fiona sit. We have her wait. I step out first. She waits till I come back next to her. I say, okay. And she walks through without pulling, and I might have to tap her a little bit. We have some guests in the yard watching us just a few feet away over there. And there's some dogs in the house barking, so this is a very exciting situation for her. So if she's excited to go on a walk or something like that, she'd probably pull kind of like that, and so just kind of tap her, just the way you saw me do it on the outside, have her sit, and then move on to your gate or whatever kind of boundary you have at your house. But you'll see how starting the walk calmly when you attach the leash to her on the inside of your house, on the inside of your door, and that's where the training starts, how it affects her walk when you take her off your property in that way, and when you start your walk, she's going to be way calmer because you brought her out onto the street, out in public, in a very calm manner. Okay, sit. And now we walk through our yard. We had her sit at the gate, open up the gate, make sure she sits and waits, step through the gate. You might have a gate or a fence line or something like that. Whatever it is with the boundary, whatever the boundary is of your house, have her wait at that boundary. This happens to be a big gate that, see how she really wants to go out? Nope. If she gets up like that, you say no, and you kind of step into her. I hope you can see this from out there. Put her back. She has to wait until you actually, nope. So you step into her and you do a little left circle like that. Bring her back, reset her. Don't say sit again. You already said sit once. Don't repeat that command. So she sits and waits. Step out. Now she's waiting because she knows that I mean business. Come back next to her. Okay. She walks out with me. I make sure she doesn't pull me. Okay. See, I just kind of tap her a little bit. You're not restraining her. The leash is loose. You're just kind of tapping, and that keeps her next to you. And if you have a gate or something, you have to make a little left turn like that to go close it. We have another boundary out here, a curb. Why don't you kind of go that way? Move that way. Okay. And the last thing we're going to do is sit. And we're going to use the curb as a boundary as well, because we want her to be super chilled out and calm by the time we start our walk. So I'm just doing a little walk around, sit, stay. And then we're going to start our walk across the street. Okay. And she's going to want to pull across the street, so you may even have to stop and walk really slowly. She's only going to be as calm as you are. And if you're walking really fast and you're letting her pull or doing that, she's going to pull and be hyper and be overstimulated and excited, which is not good. Okay, so but if you slow down, she'll slow down. And we're going to walk right over here across the street. See how I'm just kind of tapping her, walking super slow. I'm kind of exaggerating what you want to do. But see how it works really well, how she slows down if you slow down. And then on the other side, have her sit. And of course she saw a bunch of people come out of the gate over there, of course, but that's all right. That's real life. That can happen. And she's sitting here. You pat her chest and you say go. And now she's free. And this is how you start the walk. So this little video we're doing for you starts out just, boundary at the front door. We had a gate, we had a curb, across the street. The walk starts and she's on free time. And the whole process would take you probably a minute and a half total before you got out here. And if you do it every time you take her for a walk, she'll start doing at your house as she does here. She'll anticipate, okay, I calm down, I have to do a sit stay in several places before I'm free. And then when you finally get to that place that you designate where you release her, which could be across the street from your house, you release her and you have a calm dog that's not pulling and acting out of control in the beginning of the walk. Okay, let's go. Come on, this way. And we're taking our walk, and I'm just always really careful that I never have a tight leash. And you're really gonna have to watch yourself, because a lot of people don't even see that they're doing this, and they're creating a lot of stress in the dog. And overstimulation is caused by the tight leash and holding her close to you and all that kind of stuff. It's not training, it's just, physically restraining the dog, which a tight leash creates tension in the dog and stress, so we don't do it that way. So if we're walking, just to keep it real simple for you, left hand leash, right hand reward. If she goes ahead of you and she pulls, tap her like that. If she's really interested in something like she is now, something behind the camera person, come, call her back to you. Good, you draw her away from that distraction, and let's say she's really interested in it's another, okay, it's all right, we're fine. It's a little chihuahua behind us and a little girl as well. Come, little child that lives next door here. And so I'm just calling her away from those distractions. Come. Every time you call her away like that, so that was I think the third time, you'll see her interest in that distraction start to wane. Come. See how it's so easy? That was the fourth time. And no tight leashes. And you see I'm doing all of this without any restraining. If I use the leash, I'm tapping it. It's always tapping, tap, tap, back away. Body language is a big part of dog training, so you can even, without that come command, you can even just tap and back away, and she's drawn to you. And then she's always going to come back to you if you do it that way. But if you're going like this and you're dragging her around, she's going to drag the other way and she's going to pull the other way. And any dog that gets dragged around and restrained like this starts to get kind of crazy and stressed out and being inappropriate. That can lead to inappropriate behavior out on the street. So always handle the leash like this. It's tapping. If she's pulling you like crazy, let's say that she just is really excited one day and she just keeps pulling you and pulling you, stand still and just do 10 recalls in a row. Come, just like this. Good. Just stop. Let her go to the end of the leash. Come. Good. Just do it 10 times in a row, which will take you all of 2 minutes. Come. Good. See how the right hand has the treat, comes to a closed hand. She comes to that closed hand. You're not calling her to an open hand. You're not calling her to a half open hand. It's just it's a fist. It's super easy. It's a target. And see, come. Her nose touches it. Good. You open it, say good at the same moment. See, she's getting distracted again by our neighbors behind the camera person. Come. Call her away from any distraction. Good. So we have a closed hand with the reward in it because in an emergency, when you don't have a leash, you don't have a treat, she doesn't know this, it's empty. And now we practice the recall so much with her that it doesn't matter. Come, there's no food there. Good, just love her up a little extra and say good. Because you notice I'm saying good when I do have the treat, no treats. Come, over and over again. Good girl, love her up. You can keep calling her back and she keeps coming back in an emergency. Come. See, no treat 3 times in a row. Good girl. But I always practice, when I am practicing, I practice with a reward so that in an emergency, she always comes to me with no reward multiple times. And so that's what you want to do as well. Don't call her to come to you multiple times unless you have rewards. That way in an emergency, she'll always come to you. Come. Good. And I don't know if you saw, she hesitated because there's something gross and stinky there that she was smelling. All I did was when I saw that she hesitated, I tapped the leash just like that and she came my way. Good. And see how I back away like that? That's what you're always going to do. It's all about body language. Standing still isn't half as good. Moving towards her, she'll run away from you. Backing away and the tapping, she's drawn to you. Good girl. Always love her up, give her treats. And then when you don't have a leash, when you don't have a reward, and there's some sort of crisis situation, she gets out, she's going to run across the street or something, just go like this. Come. And she'll come running to you. Good girl. Because of how you practiced. All right, so sit. When you're greeting a new person, it's best to do out in front of your house. So we also have a big distraction over there. It's a little girl playing with her dog, but you can see how she'll still stay in a sit stay. I'm going to step over to you because I'm playing your part, right? So I step over to you, give you a treat, go back to her. I'm going to pat her chest and say no. Make sure she really waits until you actually pat her chest like this, and you're not restraining her, so you're never holding tight. It's loose leash. Go, and you send her over. You can pet her with the other hand. Good. She takes a treat, and then you say, come. Good. Call her back to you. You got the leash. You step into her, sit, and just do it a few times. And always make sure you're using a very high value reward, because you want her to start loving, if she doesn't already, loving it when people come over, because hey, when people come over, play this really cool game in front of your house for 2 minutes, and she gets chicken, and what's great when new people come over. Yeah. And she starts anticipating what happened last time. You build up doing this with a bunch of different people. Pretty soon she just sees a new person and it's like, oh my God, I love new people. I play that game with them. Go. Come. Do it one more time. Good. It's also a great way to practice your sit stay. Sit. So you can add a little bit of extra stuff in there. Step away from her. You know, practice your sit stay where she stays there. You can walk around her. If she gets up, you say no and step into her and just reset her like that. Never end on a mistake. You always have to make sure that she does it successfully before you move on. So I'm walking around both ways. She has to really think and focus. This state of mind, she comes out of doing this kind of stuff. She sees a little dog over there. She's a little bit calmer every day you do this kind of stuff. I'm gonna pat her chest and say, go say hi. Good, she gets petted. Come, call her back to you. And it would be great to designate a spot in front of your house. Sit, and it could just be on the sidewalk or right outside your front door. It doesn't have to be way out on the street or anything. Designate a spot where you guys practice, and practice with your family, you know. And you're playing my part and they're playing the part of the visitor, because when you have a visitor and you plug the visitor into that spot, even if she's a little bit apprehensive of this new person, she still will have already done that game there, and the only thing different is there's a new person plugged in there. Have one of your family members stand next to that new person and do the greeting routine, and that'll get her over the hump pretty quickly. And then the last thing about the greeting routine, so let's say you're the visitor or I'm playing your part, you give that person, nope. Make sure she really waits in that sit stay. There's a lot going on here. We got this car right there. We got kids and dogs over there, so she's doing pretty well. So let's say this is a big hunk of cheese or big piece of chicken breast or something. Give that to the person. You follow them in. They go through the front door first. You follow them, have her sit at the door and everything. Go in, do one more or a couple more rounds of the greeting routine inside your house. Don't have the new person walk behind, because that can make anybody nervous, right? Somebody walking behind you that you don't know. They go in first. They already have the treat. They're inside. She comes in. They have a big old treat, and you do the greeting routine a couple more times inside. And that really tops it off to give her like a new impression of what it means to have a stranger in her house. Like, oh, great stuff happens. So that's a good way to do it. Go, one more time. Come. Good girl. Okay then. All right then. Okay, there we go. Dogs. Come. See that? Dog surprised us. Call her away from that dog. That's a little dog. Come. See? Good. Because we haven't been, can you see the dog and everything? So you got the whole shot. Because we haven't been out here doing this and letting her pull us around and going like this, she's pretty calm. She's really calm. And then you plug in the training on top of that, and she's very easy to manage when she sees a dog out on the street. And that was a total surprise. Now we have another, a bigger dog coming out. And we'll see how that goes. And I'm a little bit closer now than I was before. Hey, sweetie, come on, come closer. It's a big dog that's going to be popping out of that gate any second. Good girl. She's so good. She's a good girl. Yeah. So next dog, see, she sees the dog. I'm still going to call her away. Come. She's pretty non-reactive. I would say that's about as non-reactive as you can get. She didn't even pull or anything. So She would only come. I'm going to call her away from the camera person. She would, and she sees the dog hanging out. Can you see the dogs hanging out of the car and everything? And she doesn't care. Good girl. So she would only get non-reactive. She would only be reactive if she was stressed out on the street. And so it's all about, she's interested, come. She wants to go over there. I'm going to call her away. Always call her away, because, you know, when we first got her a while ago, she had an issue with dogs on a leash out in public. But as you can see, because of the way we handle her here now, that issue has pretty much gone away, because she hasn't done that for a long time, because we handle her differently than the previous owners handled her out on the street. We handle the dog differently, and she acts differently. So it's all about the loose leash, using the come commands, practicing your greeting routine with new people that come to your house, practicing downstays, sit stays like we're showing you, and all of it adds up to a much calmer, less reactive dog that doesn't have an issue with other dogs on the street. Sit. Good. See how I rewarded her? I'll do it again. Eye contact, straight down. Good. She's actually looking at me in the eyes as she takes the reward. It's not like this. None of that. It's not the hand comes out of the sky and she eats out of it. It's very direct eye contact as she takes the reward, and at the same moment, good that you give that to her, because she'll love that word good when there's no treat, because you're giving her the reward at the same moment you're saying that word. So stay is built into sit. So if you step away from her, she knows to stay there because she's waiting to be released. So you don't have to say stay. We've never used stay with her. We just teach her that sit means to stay there until we release you in a very specific way. If she gets up, let's say she pops out of a sit stay before you release her, and let's pretend she made a mistake. Okay, so I released her, but let's pretend she made a mistake and she stood up. Let's say you're out here, she pops up, you haven't released her yet. You say no. Step into her like this, and just gently but firmly, just apply a little bit of pressure. Her butt will hit the ground and you'll release. There's no popping, jerking, hanging. It's all gentle but firm. And then you finish that sit stay, whatever you're going to do. And then the only way that she is released is she's waiting for you to come back and stand next to her with your right hand, because she's on your left. And I even, to make sure the dog is really waiting, I even pause there. See how she's really, no. She's really waiting. You're never restraining the dog, so the leash is loose. She's really waiting for me to pat her chest and say, go. And she's got a distraction over there of a little dog running around and some kids playing. So she can look or whatever, but just make sure that if you tell her to do a sit stay, that she stays there. Okay. Ready? Down. So I barely applied pressure to the leash, and I did it that way because I think that when I'm not there, when we're not there, that when you're doing this, she's not going to just drop when you say the command, because down for her is a little bit harder than sit, but she still does it. What's great about her is she's got the stay. So that's usually what's hardest for the dogs, is they might go there but they can't stay. So that's just a basic down stay where you practice walking around her both ways. And then the way we reward in a down is, see how I have it in my right hand here? I put it right there. See how she's waiting respectfully? Good. And then when I withdraw, I let go of it, I withdraw, she takes it off the ground, and I say good as she takes it. Let's do it one more time so you can see that again. So I'm just going to place it there, let go of it, and withdraw. If she tries to touch your hand or anything, you're going to pull it back and say no. She has to wait until you withdraw, and then she respectfully waits and takes it off of the ground after you pull back. So, nope. Good, just like that. It's all about the delivery of the reward. If you're throwing it down or if you're jerky and hyper when you're doing this with her, she's going to be nervous. She's not going to be calm. But if you reward her, you deliver the reward in a calm manner and you insist that she be calm and focus and wait for a couple of seconds before you withdraw, she'll be calmer. You release her out of every downstay that you do like this. She gets a little bit calmer every time, because the whole goal is the byproduct of all this training. If she pops up, you say no. Reset her like that. See how all I have to do is barely touch the leash. Just lift my left foot up like that. What we're after is the byproduct of this training when you release her to be free, because of how we do the downstays and the sit stays and all the other stuff. She changes every time you do it, just a little bit more. Gets a little bit more calmness in her, a little bit less reactive than before, which makes for a much happier dog, just like happier people are calm and stable and don't get upset by little things. It's the same way with the dog. So we're insisting that she think and focus and stay in the moment with us when we're doing downstays and sit stays. And when we release her from those, this is how you release her from a downstay. Okay, sit. And then pat her chest and say, go. When you release her from a downstay like that, she's a little bit calmer. And so did you see how I did it? I said, okay, she stood up, I had her sit, and I released her from a calm sit stay, because if you release her out of a downstay, she'll, as we've seen other dogs do, jump up and run around and everything. They anticipate they're about to be free, but if she knows she still has to do a sit stay, it's a lot easier to release a dog from a calm sit stay. That's why we do it that way from a downstay, just the way we just showed you. And now she's free and she can take a little walk. Free time.